So in this video, I wanted to show individual company exposure to foreign exchange rates. And as usual, I'm picking on Apple and I'm looking at the SEC EDGAR. And what I did is I actually went to Google and just typed in SEC EDGAR, and this is the page it took me. And then on the company and personal lookup, I just typed in Apple and then typed in search. And well, let's do it again. So in fact, a list opens up and I chose the first one. And then we are looking at the 8K, 10K proxies and disclosures. And I'm not really interested in any one of these. I'm actually interested in the annual report. So, and the idea is not to nitpick on small things, but to show you that even a company like Apple that does not have any subsidiaries internationally, we do have significant uh, foreign exchange exposure. And um, you know, the idea is to explain why companies have to forecast and predict changes in exchange rates and how it affects their financial statements. And in fact, what I did is I actually went down in the 10K to where they have interest rate risk, and even though these are very small and very specific sections of the 10K, they're actually quite important. If you notice right here, it actually says foreign exchange contracts, derivatives, and interest rate contracts, and you have a significant amount accumulated on all interest rate and foreign exchange contracts. And you're looking at $90 billion. And then in September 24th, you're looking at $185 billion. And so again, compared to the size of Apple and their revenue, that may not be as much, but it's actually a significant amount considering how much that value can change. Just to look at the, let's see, I mean, just to give you an example of the exposure. Oops, you know what? 10K. We want 10K. It's right there. So this probably was 10Q as well. So first, let's take a look at the financial statements, right? And if you look at the total sales, you're looking at $394 billion as of 2022, September 24th, 2022. And then when we look at the net income, you're looking at about $100 billion. And when we, right, so notice how within the consolidated statements, we have change in foreign currency translation net of tax, and that's about $1.5 billion. And that's a loss, right? So, and if we remember that in the quarterly 10Q that we just looked at a minute ago, the overall, the foreign exchange contract was about $188 billion. So you're looking at almost half of the sales coming from outside of the US, from currencies that are non-US dollars. So when Apple sells their products, they actually sell them in the local currency. So, for instance, if you go to Canada, you buy your iPhone with Canadian dollars. You go to Turkey, you buy iPhones in Turkish liras. And if you look at, say, the US dollar Turkish lira exchange rate, going from one currency to the other, compared to, say, June of just this year, just a few months ago, the exchange rate was 20, and now it's 28. So that's about a 40% of a change in the local currency being devalued. So from the Apple's perspective, if they have, say, $1 billion of sales, just making it up, in iPhone or iPad or Apple product sales in Turkey, and unless they change the product prices, um, they might actually start losing 40% just because the Turkish lira is losing value about 40% since June. So from a sales perspective, they cannot change the prices on a daily basis, right? So then, they have to do a forecasting and prediction as to what their exchange rate will be, and try to come up with an average expected exchange rate and then determine their product prices. So an example of um, an exposure of a company to foreign exchange fluctuation. So, and I think that for a company like Apple, this is very visible, and it's very um, obvious. So this is again the 10Q, and if you look at the net sales internationally with Americas, and I think this is quarterly, yeah. So this is the quarterly. So if you look at the net sales quarterly, Americas have $35 billion for the quarter, and then Europe has $20 billion. China has $15 billion. Japan has about 5 billion. Rest of Asia is about 5 billion. And these are significant amounts. Again, when you compare them to the total sales, a little bit closer to half of Apple sales are non-US dollar based sales, and that requires Apple to do a forecasting. This is what we refer to as an exposure to foreign exchange risk. Right? So, and I also want to show you a little bit, perhaps, a different kind of exposure. So, a company like IBM, they have sales very similar to Apple. But what Apple does not have is Apple does not have that many um, subsidiaries. As far as I know, they don't have any. I think they have just one in Ireland for finance operations. But with respect to the IBM, IBM is actually notorious for having um, subsidiaries and significant number. Right. So let's take a look. Right. So these are the subsidiaries of IBM. And like I said, they are notorious for having this many um, subsidiaries. In some countries, they have multiple. And it's really interesting. And I always pick on IBM for the subsidiary discussion because I don't think I have seen any other company that has this many subsidiaries internationally. So with respect to the foreign exchange exposure, the first that we set is like Apple product based exposure. And obviously, as you have sales internationally, that you depend on foreign currencies, and therefore you have to have a prediction and a forecast as to what your currency um, risk and exposure is. Um, you know, from the other perspective, I'm going to come to that, like in a company like Toyota or Honda, where the raw materials are in other currencies. And I think that applies to Apple too, because they do they don't have any manufacturing on their own in the US. I think they only produce like high-end desktop computers in the US, in Arizona, but that's a very, very small part of their operation. And therefore, when you look at Apple products, they're all made in Asia, and that also from a raw material perspective or the supplier perspective have different currencies, and therefore you're looking at buying your products at a different currency than the US dollar. and then selling them in other currencies than the US dollar, and therefore you're exposed to this foreign exchange risk. And it's a little bit more obvious for companies like Toyota or Honda or Hyundai, where they also have operations, foreign direct investment in multiple countries. And so there, I think that, again, the best example is the IBM. So now you have this incredible subsidiary, um, international subsidiary network, and each one of these um, have a different currency. I mean, obviously, the European Union has the euro, so Belgium, Austria, France, Germany and whatnot, they all have euros. But other than that, you actually have different currencies for Argentina, Australia, Bahamas, Bermuda, Brazil, Bulgaria, Canada, Chile, so on and so forth. So, and all of these are part of your consolidated financial statements, and therefore, any sort of cost and um, revenue structure that you have for these individual subsidiaries exposes you to a foreign exchange risk. So not only we have foreign exchange risk for the products that we sell, and not only that we have foreign exchange exposure because of the raw materials that we depend on and the suppliers that we depend on, but we also have significant foreign exchange risk due to the local companies that we own, international local companies that we own. So our subsidiaries, our affiliates, and each and every one of these is actually an independent financial statement which consolidates into the IBM's financial statement, and that makes us quite exposed to the foreign exchange risk of individual countries. So I think from an IBM's perspective, having this many foreign exchange exposure creates the best diversification. On the other hand, this is literally having the entire world currency within your consolidated financial statement. So I think this is referred to as a natural hedging, and that the IBM then does not need to hedge individual currency because they have such a diversified foreign exchange exposure. So I just also wanted to show you how companies acknowledge this foreign exchange risk and their exposure. And as part of their 10K, they have to actually spell out all the risks that they think that they're exposed to, and they have to be as exhaustive as possible. So notice here in their 10K, and I just chose one random here, it basically says that the company's primary exposure to movements in foreign exchange rates relates to non-US dollar denominated sales and operating expenses worldwide. And weakening of foreign currencies relative to the US dollar adversely affects the US dollar value, the company's. So it is true that as the foreign currency become weaker, people have less ability to buy the US dollar denominated Apple products. And therefore, they are highly susceptible to strong US dollar. So, and if you look at how, say, in Turkey, dollar has been gaining in value, or the lira has been losing value significantly, I bet their sales are hurting in Turkey significantly. So as a company, they're exposed to this risk and they acknowledge that. So they're not really concerned about how the their suppliers prices are affected by the exchange rate. So they say the company uses derivative instruments such as foreign currency forward and option contracts to hedge certain exposures of fluctuating foreign currency exchange rates. So, and this is a very common technique in that they do combine the forecasting and predictions and the usage of derivatives. And what they do basically is that they create themselves these forecast models for quarterly sales and operations, and then they hedge anything above and below within a range of their expectations. So it's not a 100% certain, uh, hedging like buying futures just to make sure, but because you don't know how much of a sale you're going to have, I mean, you have your expectations, but you get futures contracts, you're obligated to deliver, and therefore, if you say have a futures contract for $1 billion and it turns out your sales is much less than that, then you're still obligated to deliver, and therefore you could actually get hurt. And the forward of the future contract becomes an exposure in and of itself. So it is a forecasting of how much sales you expect to have, and forecasting of what the exchange rate you think is going to be, and then you create yourself a range and you try to hedge anything above and below, within outside of that range. And here Apple acknowledges. It says that the use of such hedging activities may not offset any or more than a portion of the adverse financial effects. So, and in fact, if they were to use more forward and future contracts, they may actually expose them to additional risk with their predictions for not as accurate. And therefore, these fluctuations still expose the company to foreign exchange risk. And unfortunately, it's not possible to eliminate all that risk all at once. So again, the idea of this video is to show you how companies can be exposed to foreign exchange risk. And from a product perspective, when you sell them internationally and they have a US dollar cost, but we sell them in other currencies and other currencies lose value, and we lose our competitiveness, and we lose sales. And then from a supplier perspective, so companies like Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, you have significant international reliance of products for the cars that we produce, and these products have different currency denominations, and you have sales in other countries. So it's an incredibly complex network of suppliers with different currencies, and then sales in different currencies, and all in all, you have one consolidated financial statement where you're exposed to these changes in foreign exchange rates on both sides. And then you have companies like Apple, where you have companies like IBM, where you have actual subsidiary network and presence in multiple countries, and we refer to this as a natural hedge. You try to create a consolidated financial statement that's as diversified as can be, and include every meaningful currency with respect to the amount of trade that you have with each of these currencies. And IBM seems to be doing it well, and there are several companies that are trying to do as IBM does, but also the position of, or the importance of derivatives cannot be ignored. However, hedging with derivatives is not a true role, and therefore we still have to do a combination of a hedging and also predictions and forecasts. So thank you so much, and thank you for working with me, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.